Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tim Grossi, and today, we have a menage a trois going on here, because for such a big matchup, which should have been on Sunday Night Football, by the way, but for such a big matchup, we couldn't get just one guest. We had to get two guests. And so it is my honor and privilege to welcome both Ren and Brent from the Pewtercast podcast. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me.
What's up, Tom? And Packers Nation.
Hello.
That was the greatest. Brent was so quiet too, and I was just like, okay, it'll be like, like one of those we'll cruise along down the lazy river. Oh no, you brought it up here, and so that's the thing. Now it's just gonna have to go back and forth. And Ren,
well, that's the peak. So good night, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to tip your waitress. We'll be here all
Thanks
week.
So much for joining. Really appreciate it, folks. Yeah. Thank you both guys for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. I love the background. I love the logo. I love everything about it. And Brent, I like the calendar in the back too, just so you can keep track of like what day it is.
Thank you. That is a 2021 calendar, so it won't even go good until after the season is over.
Hey,
and which is good because for the last year, I've had a 2017 calendar up there that they gave me at the stadium one time, and they never replaced it after that went down. So it's at least a new one going on right now.
Hey, preparation is key, and you, my friend, are so prepared for next year. So
I think the whole world is prepared for next year.
Yeah, that is a big fact. Yeah, that is an absolute big fact. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to talk to you both because the Buccaneers, over the years, I've talked to many Buccaneers fans, and I will say, coming into this year, things are a little bit different. I would say the hype train is, I think, higher than it's been in the past few years to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. So kind of just to jump right into it. Coming into this season, before any games are played, you guys have an insane offseason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bringing in guys like, former WWE, 24/7 champion Rob Gronkowski, obviously a big acquisition there. And then, of course, you're bringing in guys like Tom Brady. Devin White is getting healthy, right? So he's going to come in too. You guys have a pretty damn good draft. So I kind of just want to get a sense from you both of where the feelings, the hype, the predictions about this team before even we had a single snap.
Well, I'll tell you the phrase that I've been saying all off season, much to my illustrious co-host chagrin over there, is we go into the ship. We go into the ship. We go into the ship. Because 16-0, how do you do anything other than 16-0 when you got the GOAT coming in? He's bringing the best tight end of all time. You've got a defense that is going to pick up right where it left off, that is largely unchanged.
Oh yeah, that
shut down every single top rusher out of the entire league last year. And you have a secondary that is really beginning to light things up. Plus you've got a receiving core in Tampa Bay. And I'm not just talking about the wide receivers. I'm talking about everybody who's going to receive the ball via the pass. That's touchdown, or that's your tight ends, your wide receivers, even those running backs. That's the deepest rooms you could possibly ever imagine. How is there any possible way that anybody's ever going to beat us? Maybe with the exception of the Saints. Week 1, they've been together a while in that first, but even still, we probably ought to win that. But we're going 16-0 the whole way, baby. 19-0, 21-0, whatever it is, we're going to do it the whole way through. That's the expectation for Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans this year.
Well, and then there's the realistic Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans that I represent.
I love this dynamic so much.
He did. Brent did get it right. It was about 50-50 for the opening game against the Saints, and it was because what he mentioned. The core being together with Peyton and Drew Brees being together for so long. There was no new offense to learn. There was no big new pieces to bring back, and they have a top 5 roster. Let's face it. I talked about how Drew Brees had a noodle arm before the season started. Now everyone knows it. So the Saints really aren't as good as they were. But to answer your question, playoffs are bust. Division title, possibly. The Saints are still really good, but it's playoff or bust. And at least I think if the Buccaneers didn't get at least one playoff win this year, it would be considered a disappointment for Bucs fans.
Yeah, and I can see that. Looking in as an outsider, obviously looking in, for me, the Buccaneers were always going to be that team of like, I do not want to play them later in the season because, like you said, there are some new pieces, Tom Brady coming into a new system, a lot of new teammates, etc. So it might take, a little bit just getting his feet wet and what have you. And I think, before we jump into like this season, I think just like the potential that this team has, because I mean, I spoke about this all off season about like everyone's talking about the offense, but you look at that run defense, who was literally number 1 last year, and like they were damn good. And like they did not get a ton of like the headlines or anything like that. And that was fine. You had some injuries, but I think, coming through, I was like, it really doesn't matter because Brady's not going to need to light it up because you have that defense that's going to be able to be like, hey, we got you, and you have the potential for that offense to put up a lot of points. So for me, like, it was just like that perfect combination that, even if it takes Brady a little bit, you're still going to be super competitive because you have that defense on the other side of the ball.
That's 100% a fair assessment, which is honestly what we all were. Now, obviously, what I was saying was the fan hype train. Sure. You know what I mean? But no, you're 100% right. And when you sit back and you look at it and you go, that's a fair assessment of where we are. But from a fan perspective, just sort of rolling into this year, you have to understand for the last 5 years, Ren, I think it's probably 5 years. Every year during the off season, it seems to be
this is the year. This is the best roster we've ever had.
Yeah.
And I know Cleveland Browns fans say that all the time. Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans say that all the time.
Yeah.
But it really was. We had our head coach on Hard Knocks saying, this is the best roster we've ever had since you've been here, to our quarterback.
Yeah.
And he wasn't lying.
Yeah.
He was absolutely right. And then we look up by the end of the season, we're 5-11.
Yeah.
And we're all mad as hell. Like
what happened?
Exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there in the stands just going, what in the world is this? And we get into this year and we're like, oh my God, this really could be it. Yeah. And then like weeks before the season starts, we pick up Leonard Fournette to add to the running back room, and Shady McCoy is coming in, and it's just nuts. And we're like, this is a team that is all in and all in to win this year right now. And the excitement has been there, and we'll see how it plays out. And coming off, especially this last week, it feels very familiar territory for Bucs fans.
Yeah, Tom, you kind of hit it on the head when you talked about it's going to take some time to gel. And the defense has played well. Like, if you look at their numbers, they really have played well. The problem is the offense has not put it together for a complete game yet. Like, normally it had been the first 3 weeks, they'd played great in the first half. And then, they roll into the Chargers game and they play great in the second half. Then they go back to the old ways against the Bears, where they play, good in the first half, not great. They couldn't punch it in the red zone like they had been in weeks earlier. So it's only a 13-0, lead with 2 minutes left. And then it's halftime and they're down by 1. It's like, what just happened? And then what Brent's talking about, what we've seen before, when you watch that drive on Thursday night where it was like 85 yards and accepted penalties and a couple other penalties that weren't accepted, and watch the Buccaneers go from starting the drive on the other team's 45 and finishing it on their own 30, that's what he's talking about. That's what we've seen year after year, either be the quarterback throwing interceptions or a untimely fumble or the secondary, before last year, like, the reason like teams didn't run the ball in the Bucs because you could throw it and it was easy to throw. And, they were on record numbers, like historically record numbers for giving up the most yards per game. And so we've seen this for the Buccaneers haven't made the playoffs, and I think it's coming up on 12 years now. So that's what's scary. But when you kind of step back and look at it all, like what you said, we're 3-2, still above 500, tied for first in the division. Have a win against the Panthers, have the Saints coming up in a couple of weeks, and I don't think they're nearly as good as everyone thought they were when they started the season. So it's time to sort of circle the wagons. Yes, it hasn't happened as coming out of the gates as NFL Network was going to gave us and ESPN gave us, but It's not our fault. Like, we weren't over here saying we're going 16-0 out on Twitter. In our heads we were, but I didn't say it. It didn't say it out loud.
Right.
So, but they've done what they've done. The defense has been good and the offense has been spotty, and there's a little bit of fear because of the penalties and the pre-snap mistakes and just sort of like the same old Bucks. And that's what really was that one drive Thursday night. That's what drove people crazy, because if the Buccaneers play Chicago 10 more times, they win 11 of them.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't happen.
Yeah. And I think, you speak to kind of like the past and like how things have been going, because you look at a guy like Jameis Winston, right? A guy who, like, watching him, I see a lot of Brett Favre, in which like he is like that guy who's just like, I'm going to throw it really far and we're going to see what happens. And like and I feel like he was one of those guys that literally was going to be the reason you either won or lost a game. And I'm curious, before we jump into this season and kind of what has transpired thus far, is like with Jameis, I understand you need to walk away from him because you're just like, listen, you got to go, buddy. You got to spread your wings and you got to fly.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, did you think that Jameis was going to be the guy, like, even as soon as like last year? Like, are you looking at him being like, okay, buddy, just got to clean it up. You're going to be the guy. Or is it like just not going to happen with him, or at least not on, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Yeah, I'll take
Ren,
this one first.
I was going to say, Ren, you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, there's a couple of course we thought he was the guy. He was number one. He was the number one overall draft pick. And I'm going to steal Brent's line that I'm sure he's going to say, but I'm taking it.
Well, hold on, Ren, before you do that, because I know where you're going.
Yeah.
Just to say what Ren used to tell me was, under Jameis Winston, we were entering the golden age of Buccaneers football, and he would often say, Jameis Winston could be the last quarterback that the Buccaneers have in my lifetime.
It's true.
Like,
if he played 20 years,
yeah,
and I'm a smoker, so it was definitely possible. But what Brent used to say, and he hit it nail on the head, I think it was like a year and a half ago, where no matter what you think about Jameis Winston, you're absolutely right. If you think he's an MVP type of quarterback that can lead the league in passing and put a team on his shoulders and win games, absolutely. If you think he's a huge cancer and he makes bad decisions with the football and he'll never learn it and he's going to lose you more games than responsible for win for, guess what? You're also absolutely right. I've just come to, there's this little phrase that I say about Jameis Winston. He is the firefighter arsonist. He starts the fire, then he goes and he puts it out. And that's what he is. That's what he does. He can't help it. He is who he is. Mm-hmm. He may always be who he is. But, to answer your question, yes, we of course we thought he was the guy. We want him to be the guy. He had all the talent in the world. You spend the number one pick on your quarterback. Like, even if you don't agree with, even if you wanted Marcus Mariota, at some point you're going to go, well, this is the guy I got. Let's go.
Yeah, that's who we're rolling with. Yeah. And I mean, like, it makes a lot of sense. And I think, you mentioned the depth that you have, right? Your running backs are insane, right? I mean, you had OJ Howard, right? But like, pair him with like a Gronk or a Braid, and like you have all these guys where you're like, okay, like this is a team like put together, and coming in, there is a lot of hype and what have you. I think it's fascinating because Tom Brady is such a different type of quarterback than you're used to seeing like with Jameis Winston, because theoretically, at least what we've seen, Tom Brady is not really going to lose you the game, right? He's going to be that guy who's going to be careful with the football, who's going to be, quick passes, let's get it out. And you pair him with a guy like Godwin and Evans and the tight end room and the running backs, that seems like a well-oiled machine that just needs some time to get going. And looking at what has happened thus far, you mentioned the defense playing well, and Brady, and the offense is like, like you said, they sputtered a little bit. Do you think that this is something, with your concerns in the back of your mind, do you think that this is going to be something that they're going to be able to like, okay, we're heading into, week 5, week 6, we're going to get over it. It's just growing pains for right now.
Yeah. I think the reality of the situation is, I hate to put things off to next year, because I don't want to put things off to next year, but look at where we've been this year. Virtually no preseason. No OTAs, no mini training camps, none of those. You had a very weird training camp as it was. Yeah. Absolutely zero preseason games. Now, we do know that Tom Brady went out with some of his receivers and tossed the ball around, much to the disappointment of some people. Yeah. But he's Tom Brady. Tom Brady does what Tom Brady wants to do. And he's going to he's just going to kind of he'll play by his own rules. Let's just put it that way. But for the record, or in regards to the record, like you go out and you kind of go, what's the phrase he uses, Ren? He says he was married for 20 years up in New England, and he's just been dating for 6 months down here. It's just going to take time to get to, as you say, you said a well-oiled machine, Tom.
Yeah.
He really might be more like it's a machine. They're still putting the oil in it. Like that's probably a better analogy of where they are right now. But we don't look to next year. We worry about this year.
Of course.
This offense will continue to get better as the weeks go on. And that's what we've seen. As Ren said, they haven't put it together for a full game yet on offense. They haven't, but they have gotten better week to week to week, with the exception really of last week. And that one you really could chalk up to a lot of injuries. I mean, we went into that week on a short week because it was a Thursday night game for us. Our top 4 wide receivers were on the injury report. 2 of them were out. They're almost out. One of them was a game time decision. Our top receivers still dealing with this, probably a lingering hamstring issue from right before week 1. He's never really gotten to get over that yet. There's just all these things. Oh, our top tight end is gone on IR. We lost him the week before. So like a lot of teams, the injuries are beginning to mount, and a lot of the people that Tom was throwing to this last week were the number 3 and 4 and 5 people on the depth chart, or that guy we just brought up from the practice squad. And so there's a little bit of, I think, once you get over the emotional nature of the way that the Buccaneers lost last week's game, and to say that I don't know what it is for Packers fans, but what I think it's really become for Bucs fans, it's not just a win or lose. It's how the Bucs win or lose that kind of determine the reaction of the game. Last week was not a good it was not good for Bucs psyche to lose the game in that fashion. Looking ahead to this game, this is the one that a lot of people are like, all right, that Saints game will be a real test. The next ones, we should win all of them. So we'll roll in at least 4-1, ready to play the Packers. And that'll be another real test, and we'll see where they are, and I think now coming off this next game, we're kind of going, what's going to happen? Because, the Packers aren't sucking this year.
Here's where the Bucs are at. If they don't turn the ball over and they don't have ridiculous penalties, which they're good enough to overcome some penalties.
Sure.
That they're the most penalized team in the league right now. If they get that down, it'd be great. It'd be a lot easier. Even with that terrible drive where everyone saw Tom Brady, chew out the offensive line, they still had their chances to win the game. They had the ball with 2:15 left. Then they got it back with, 1:15 or 48 seconds left, be able to go down and just get a field. They still had their chances. If you don't turn the ball over and the defense plays just the way they're playing, the Bucs should win every single game on the rest of their schedule, except for 2. One's the Packers, one's the Chiefs. Ooh. And we will see this team needs to grow up very quickly from what we saw against Chicago and the nation saw against Chicago, or Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are going to come in and they're going to blow us out, and it's going to be full-blown panic time in Buccaneers fandom because we'll be 3-3 with 2 losses in a row.
I think it's also fascinating because we also need to evaluate the context in which this season is occurring, right? You mentioned about how all these injuries are piling up. The Titans are fighting with COVID. The Patriots are fighting with COVID. And I think I want to say it was maybe Joey Bosa who said this at the beginning of the year. And he was just listen, the team that's the healthiest more than any other season is going to be the most successful team. Right. And you're talking about not having wide receivers, right? We're going in to games without Alan Lazard. We're going in without Devontae Adams. Kenny Clark is injured. Thankfully, the majority of them, except Lazard, should be back for Sunday. But I think it also speaks to, if you're going to have these ugly penalty, riddled losses, get them out of the way now, and if you had a chance to choose, because the team that, is going down the stretch, even if they make it as the number 7 seed, because that's a thing this year, even if they make it in there, then it's a whole new ball game. Literally, it's a whole new ball game, whether that's going to exist in a bubble, whether that's going to happen, 5 months from now, nobody knows. But I think it just shows that those teams, like you said, like the Saints, or at least what we thought, those teams that like have that rapport, that have been with each other for a while, those are the teams that you see kind of being the most successful coming out of the gate, because like they have that. You guys don't have that. And like, that's not a fault against you. Like, that's just the reality of it, you know, without the OTAs, without the preseason. So, I mean, like, you can't blame like too much just because like the rapport is not there yet.
Yeah. And that's what I mean when I say that there's, at least on our show, like there's the psyche of the fan, and then there's the, okay, let's take a deep breath. Here's the reality of where we are. And frankly, the reality of where we are going into this game, as Ren said, we may lose this game. And I think that this is a not an unrealistic idea. But if the Buccaneers go out and they compete and they play well, and if all of that happens, the majority of Bucs fans will be okay. Because as Ren said, we're looking down the road going, we're still 12-4 by the end of the year. That's not horrible. And by the way, we're looking over at the Saints, who have been the division leaders for the last couple of years, and going, Breeze can't push the ball 15 yards down the field anymore. And, you know, we may actually beat them by the time this whole thing is said and done. That is still a possibility. So, you know, and the Falcons just, I mean, they just imploded their season. And the Panthers are still trying to figure their whole situation out. So, you know, there's
opportunities
there. Thing. Yeah.
Exactly. There's definitely opportunities of like how you're going to find your way in. And I think, you know, when you have a team that like at least is complete on one side of the ball and is like, you know, has the potential on the other side, I mean, like, yeah, as long as you're in the swing of things, because it doesn't matter, like literally at this point, like what seed you are, it's right. Like you get in, you have a nice day. I mean, because now there's only one team that gets a bye week, right? It's the first seed and that's it. So basically everyone's on the same playing field. You know, there's a lack of home field advantage nowadays with everything going on. So yeah, I think, I think that's great. I have a random question. By the way, I just got a little notification from Zoom saying they removed the 40-minute time limit. So that means yes. Okay, great. Wonderful. Right. We won't get kicked off. I'll edit this out. So the
leave it in. Just leave it in. Make it easy.
Unscripted.
Yeah.
I have a question, and I don't want you to be offended by this question.
We don't get offended unless it's about culture.
Oh my gosh. More on that. Go watch our last episode live online.
I may have lost YouTube. It. We do a just, you know, I know Packers fans, you don't care, but if you want a good giggle, we do a post-game show, call-in show, where you can come in through video chat or just call us right as soon as it hits 000, fourth quarter, boom, we go. And this guy who's not a Bucs fan, he's a Patriots fan and a Tom Brady fan, came on and started talking about culture, and Bucs don't know how to win, and Bruce Arians never won anything, and I lost it.
He did.
And I mean like double-handed on the microphone, screaming into it. Like it was, if you want to see Ren,
it's about the hour and a half mark of the show, by the way, because it was a very long show. But anyway, not that if you guys want to go do that.
Phenomenal. No, you will definitely have people check that out, because now I actually like legitimately want to go see that.
I'll send you the link with the time code.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Point being, we will not be offended.
Okay. Yes. So there have been some comparisons. I don't know how many there are, but there have been some comparisons of two teams that kind of stick out. One, the Broncos, who bring in Peyton Manning. And then two, the dream team that Philadelphia, you know, compiles like from years and years back. I'm curious as to, are you as a fan, you know, like looking at this more of short term, you know, we're going to have Brady's for, you know, around like 2-ish years, you know, depending, because who knows how long he's going to play, what have you. Is this kind of, you mentioned like playoff win or bust, or like at least there'll be some disappointment. Like, how do you look at like long term, if you even do? Like, do you see a similarity? I would say it's more with the Broncos than anything, of just like you're bringing in an aging quarterback, which Tom Brady is, right? With a team with a good defense that can compete. I wouldn't say you went crazy in free agency like the Broncos did and brought in everybody and their mother, but I'm curious of just like, is this, hey, like we have this window where we have this young team. They're really, really hungry. We got some really great playmakers. This is like our 2-year window. Let's go win a Super Bowl. Whatever happens after that, it's going to happen.
Well, if you want to compare it to the Broncos, I'll take it. Peyton Manning played 3 years, went to 2 Super Bowls, won one, and should have went to won his first year if that safety decided to turn his hips and run instead of try to do a 40-yard dash backpedal, where the bomb went over his head as the time ran out against the Ravens. So yeah, I'll take it. But to answer your question, I guess I keep saying that. I don't know why. Josh Rosen's in the hopper. Like, this team understands that, they're like, Brady's going to go. It could be 2 years, could be more. He says he wants to play 5. We'll see.
Sure.
After that performance by the offensive line Thursday night, he might not even want to play, Sunday.
Never mind.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, yes, looking forward, is there worry? Or is there like, okay, what are we going to do after this? Especially because when I first heard about it as a Bucs fan, heard about Tom Brady coming here, I was kind of like, I was like, that's okay. This is a 2-year fix tops, maybe one, behind this offensive line, how's he going to survive?
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. But now that it's here, it's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't, we're week 6. Packers are here. We need to win this game to stay in front. Let's not forget, I'm an old school Bucs fan. I remember the black and blue division. I've been in that stadium and watched Favre throw all of us. I was there when Walter Payton would run all over us. I was there when Tommy Kramer and Ahmad Rashad from the Vikings, Billy Sims from the Lions. I remember it all. Like screw the Packers. No offense. Love the fans. I love the team. I do not like them. I like all the players. They've never done anything. But, I remember going home week after week from old Tampa Stadium because you beat the crap out of us. This is where I'm at. I don't they'll figure that out. They get paid plenty of money to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And the best way, is Josh Rosen's in the hopper and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think the thing I would add to that is, Ren wasn't the only one who was when they first started talking about bringing Brady in, because what we really wanted was that longevity. We wanted that long-term solution. And we all know Brady is not the long-term solution. But then we sat back and we said, when you look at Mike Evans, arguably a top 5, I don't think it's inarguably in my mind, a top 5 wide receiver, maybe arguably top 3. You've got him in the prime of his career right now.
Yep.
We've got a couple of offensive linemen in the prime of their career right now. We've got a defense that is turning it up, and we've put together a team around the quarterback position that is really a good team that would attract a great quarterback. If the only thing that's missing is a quarterback who doesn't turn the ball over, be it interception, lost fumbles, whatever, if there's a guy who can take care of the ball and actually move the offense forward and continue putting up the points, then let's sell the farm. Not sell the farm. Let's get that Super Bowl now.
Yeah.
And then we'll start over in a couple of years, and that's okay. We're okay with that. Let's not waste the prime years of some of the best players that Tampa Bay has ever had that's on the team right now. And go ahead.
Yeah, letting a rookie quarterback take his lumps, and grow up. Because if it takes 2-3 years, well, now Mike Evans, he's in his 30s, and Levante David's not playing anymore. Sue's retired. JPP's retired. So it's when like you said, like Brent said, we want our Aaron Rodgers. We want our Drew Brees. Go to any team that has their franchise quarterback. Sure. We want that guy because we've never had it. The Bucs have never signed a quarterback to a second contract ever.
That's crazy.
Ever. In 45, 46, 47
That's
years.
Crazy.
It is crazy. You know why? Because we stink. So,
we've had some questionable decision makers.
Yes, we've had some questionable decision makers. Bo Jackson, would you like to play a Buccaneer? I'll never play for you. Okay, well, we're going to draft you anyway. So,
thanks, Bo.
Go ahead.
No, I said, thanks, Bo.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Bo. Yeah. Well, you're true to your word. Gotta give you props for that. So, yeah, it just, and Brent's right. At first you're kind of like, oh God, but then when you really look at it, the team is set up to win now.
Yeah.
The team is set up to win now. And who better to you need a veteran guy. And Tom Brady was out there. Who else are you going to get? Who was better? Like, would you rather have Tom Brady or Phillip Rivers? Well, I'll take Tom Brady. Like,
well, you could have gotten the stud Nick Foles. Okay, guys. Like, I don't know, sleeping on Nick Foles. What a stud he is.
Here's the thing. There was a lot of names that were attached to Tampa Bay. I cannot say that I have spoken with the head coach or the GM or anyone like that, but
today,
that is true today. But the I don't know. Here's the deal. If Tom Brady wasn't going to come available and Tom Brady took his sweet bippy time deciding on what he was going to do, Tampa Bay was in limbo for a long time this offseason. He took it. They were waiting on him to decide, because if it wasn't going to be him, they were going to re-sign Jameis.
Because Teddy was already signed.
Yeah. Like Teddy. Yeah. And Teddy was never really an option. It was Jameis or Tom Brady. And if Tom Brady said it, then sorry, Jameis, that's an upgrade. We'll go there. But otherwise, like they pretty much had everything worked out with Jameis, like contracts and everything ready to go. They just waited. So, all those other people, we would still be looking at Jameis Winston if Tom Brady didn't come to Tampa Bay. But, you upgrade every position you can, I guess. And that includes the quarterback position, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. And I think, there is something to be said of, you can be like worrisome about, what it's going to look like in a couple years. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you what, if you're hoisting a Lombardi at the end of the year, regardless of what's coming next, I think you're okay. Like, I think, it doesn't matter. Burn it all down we got one. I don't care. Like, we're happy. We're good to go. Yeah, no, I can get that. And I got it by the way, maybe it's just the underdog in me that I really want to see Josh Rosen just after Brady just go nuts and be your franchise QB, because
we do too. We do too. That'd be great. Nobody would be opposed to that.
Because again, I feel like Josh Rosen's one of those guys, and we could talk about his talent and, skill level, what have you. I just feel like he goes to Arizona, gets murdered behind the offensive line, goes to Miami, gets murdered behind the offensive line. Didn't look good when he played, to be honest. But, I think, this is the best case scenario for him. You're going and sitting behind one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. If this ain't going to be it, buddy, it ain't going to be it. You know what I mean? This is your shot. And who knows if it works out like that, in which you guys can have some success with Tom Brady and then hand the reins over to Josh Rosen, everybody's going to look like geniuses and everyone's going to get a big fat raise.
It's a good story.
Yeah.
That's a Hollywood story if you ever heard one. So yeah, I mean, nobody'd be opposed to that. What you're telling me that we're going to have a quarterback who's going to come in and be successful after Tom Brady leaves? Sure. Do I care what his name is?
Okay.
No. No.
Yeah, no, I think that would be pretty phenomenal. Looking ahead to this Sunday.
Yeah.
Which again should have been a Sunday night football game.
Yes.
But it should have been.
Yeah. It's tragic that it wasn't a primetime game.
It is. I'm a little upset about who is next Sunday night's game. I don't even know.
Who cares?
It's probably garbage. Good luck following this. I think that this game is going to be a really good game. You mentioned getting blown out before. I think that's almost very unlikely for that to happen. The reason being is because I'm not even looking at your offense right now. I'm specifically looking at your defense. Aaron Jones, who has been on a tear, has been really, really damn good. Against the Saints, the Saints run defense has been really, really good over the past few years. They're pretty damn good. But Aaron Jones, it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to get the running game going. We should theoretically have Devontae Adams back, which will definitely be a big plus, and theoretically have our nose tackle Kenny Clark back to stop all 615 of your running backs that you have signed to your football team. So kind of when looking ahead at this game, either what are you the most confident in when it comes to the Bucs versus Packs, and which are the one you looking at that are that might be a big problem?
Sure. I mean, normally, it's been 20, 21, 22 games now, and Brent talked about it earlier, about our run defense that has stopped everybody. You even talked about it. Well, we had a huge loss in that Chicago game. Devin White landed on Villavea's ankle and broke it, and he's done for the season. And Villavea is the biggest reason why people couldn't run on the Bucs, because he's a tree stump. He's a fire hydrant. You could not move him. You couldn't move him.
Right.
Now we got a guy named Nacho Nunez Roches. You'll be able to recognize him because if he comes in on a tackle, he's going to do his best Cam Newton Superman move. You'll pick him out real easy. He's going to get some reps. And then they've talked about moving Anthony Nelson, who's our third outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. He can put his hand in the dirt and get inside. So there's going to be this rotational play in there. Plus, Khalil Davis out of Nebraska was a day 3 draft pick, but he's not a run stuffer. You only see him on third down. He's more of an explosive, twitchy guy who wins off the ball and with the hand movement, breaking out the toolbox against the guards and shooting gaps and things like that. So you'll see him in third down. But normally I'd been, after 20 plus games of watching this run defense just shut everybody down, I'd be like, okay, Green Bay, good luck.
Yeah.
But you guys lead the league in rushing, and there's no Vita Vea. There could not be a worse time for him to go out in a game this whole entire year. Like, this is the one, like, we really needed him. And even if you do shut down the run game, it's Aaron Rodgers, who's, just frustratingly accurate for every other fan in the league, buys more time. Like, he's not going to take when someone's coming down the gun barrel, he's not going to take the hit. He's going to sidestep, and he has the arm talent to be able to make up for that second and a half that he wasted. Well, I don't want to call it wasted, but made for himself to get down the field. So even though I'm really looking forward to see what the Bucs and the Packers run game, how it matches up, especially because you guys run so well out of the spread. I think what worries me the most is the way that Todd Bowles has gotten away from press man or man defense and gone to zone. And that's how Herbert picked him apart. And that's how Foles picked him apart early in the late in that second quarter, got him back in the game. And even late in the fourth, where it was like Foles was not having a good game. And Carlton Davis who's excellent, seems to be shutting down number 1 receivers since about 3 games left from last year. Jamel Dean breaks up passes like they're M&Ms. Like, he just keeps, breaking them. He can't catch the ball with the crap, but at least he gets his hands on them. And Sean Murphy-Bunting, our nickel corner, who does start on the outside, but when they go to nickel, he comes in, he drops down into the slot position. He's starting to get lost a little bit. So when they play press man, the Bucs are really good. They do give up some big plays. If you watch the Chargers game, I saw highlights. Yep. It was just boneheaded plays by Sean Murphy-Bunting and Jordan Whitehead, our safety, just let the guys run by him. Like he thought, like the goalie was back there. Like, that's all right. Vasilevsky will stop it. Don't worry about it. Like, there's nobody else back there. So, but they play man much better than they play zone, because if you've seen these games, a lot of the big gainers, besides the Chargers game, all the other big gainers have been on zone and busted coverages. And with Aaron Rodgers be able to, create time and space and get out of the pocket, and then when he does, he can also run. It's going to be a real challenge for this Buccaneers defense if Todd Bowles decide to play zone. Sort of like, we're going to keep everything in front of him, make the Packers go, 8 to 10 to 12 plays. Well, Aaron Rodgers can do that.
Yes.
Like, so it's really not going to work. All it's going to do is give you less possessions. I'd rather see, let's bring some blitzes and trust Dean and Carlton Davis in their press man coverage, because they're really good at it, and see what can happen. So that's what I'm afraid of from the Green Bay offense coming in.
Yeah.
Brent agrees.
Here's the thing Here's the thing, and Rodgers spoke about this. I want to say it was like last week on Pat McAfee, because I know what we're gonna hear is gonna be like, it's Brady versus Rodgers for like it'll be in all the promos. It'll be in everything.
Are they gonna arm wrestle?
Yeah, exactly. They're just gonna go out and rock, paper, scissors in the middle of the field and be like, damn it, we lose. I think. What's so frustrating is, like, again, you are going against, the Packers defense, right? And we are going against the Bucs defense. I think, looking at this game, there's a lot of ways that this could either be like a really low scoring game if it turns into a defensive battle, but I think it also could literally just be a full blown shootout, like you saw with the Chargers and Buccaneers game, which I watched. Like, I would not be surprised, like, if we are both scoring in the 30s, like the Packers have been doing all season. We're coming in, I think, we're averaging 38 points per game. I would not be surprised if it just turns out to be like, okay, let's see who has the ball last and have a nice day.
Right.
And it could. One of the things that I'm encouraged this week, though, Ren kind of talked about the defense going, oh, that's the sketchy one. And where we're recording this, we haven't got the injury reports yet for this whole week, and they haven't all come out. So we're still waiting to see what's going to turn out. But I mentioned earlier, going into the Chicago game, they had 4 of their top 5 receivers on the injury report. No doubt they'll still be on the injury report, but we could be getting, of those 5, 4 of them back this week, which would be great. We could be getting one of our running backs who's been on the injury report and was out for the last game, or he suited up, but he was like very emergency status only. I think he got 1 play the whole game.
It was a kneel down. Yeah, he was break glass.
Right. So he'll be back. So these players that we've been without, obviously our top tight end, he's, like I said, he's on IR, so he's out for the season, but the rest of this high powered offense really could be coming on. And so I'm excited to see what they do. And there's the other side of this. Will be the first game for the Buccaneers where they have had a number of fans in the stadium. They did have some in the stadium at their last home game, but that was like the 3,000-4,000 really soft opening. You've been a season ticket holder since the beginning kind of a group. This is the one where they're expecting, the 16,000, 15,000, something like that, which I know is still not a full stadium, but you can feel it watching it at home on TV. You could definitely feel it and see what it is for them. There's a difference when you're playing in front of people and when you're playing in an empty stadium. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do inside of the stadium here. So, but the offense, getting these weapons that they were without this past week back, hopefully that can help mitigate or pick up some of the slack that, truthfully might be what we see on defense now.
Yeah. And 2 things just to finish up with that, Brent talked about fans in the stands. The Bucs have had real trouble bringing their own juice to empty stadiums. They just they have looked dead early and often in games where there was nobody in the stands. And secondly, and I kind of hate to bring this up. Well, I don't hate to bring this up, but it's sort of hard to quantify. I think what also is going to hinge on the game is what referee crew we get. Because the more games you watch, the more sort of you can figure out which crews call which type of penalties. And even though that, they're not calling, at least referees are being told, like, only call it if it's egregious and it affects the play.
Yeah.
And they did that in the first 2 weeks. And now like every game you're just like, like how, like what is going on? How does that happen? So it depends on the style of who the crew is that comes in, that, could really play a big part in what these offenses and defenses can do to each other. Yeah.
No, I mean, these are all valid points. I think it's going to wind up being a very, very good football game.
Yes.
And I'm very, very much looking forward to it. I know it's not Brady versus Rodgers, but like, I've been robbed of, Rodgers versus Brady Super Bowls. We've never gotten one. This might be one of the last times, besides like playoffs and stuff, that they actually wind up interacting. So yeah, no, I think it's gonna be a really, really good football game. And the final question that I have, and this can go to either of you or both of you, and it's the most important question of this entire pod. Can you please explain to me, because I have never been in person, how cool is the pirate ship?
It's cool, man. I like it. I wish we could.
Seemed like there was a tempered expectation. I don't. There's some hesitation there, Brent. I don't know.
Well, no, that was not the question I was expecting. So I just had to rework my head, and then I was waiting to see what Ren would say. But to be fair, between the two of us, I think I'm much more on the. Ooh, look at that over there. That's fun. Yeah, ooh, look at that over there. That's fun.
Shocking.
You're right. Shocking. But no, it's cool. The cannons going off will startle you if you're not ready for them. Okay. Especially if it's right over your head. Do what now?
Even if you are ready for them.
That's fair. They definitely can. But I mean, there really is something fun when you just look over and you're sitting in the stands and you just go, who else has a freaking pirate ship in
That's
their
pretty
stadium?
cool.
That's just fun. And, you get the pirates up there throwing beads and everything. And, I wish that there was a little more access to the pirate ship during the games, and, it'd be a little easier to get on, but ostensibly they can't do that, because they would not have a pirate ship after a while.
No.
But it's super cool. It's just fun. The in-stadium experience in Raymond James is outside of the sheer volume, which will give you a headache and not let you talk to anybody who's sitting literally in the seat next to you. But that's true of pretty much all stadiums, from what I understand. The in-stadium experience is really good from that level, like just the video boards and the ribbons and all those things that they do. And that pirate ship it brings the feel. It's fun. It's just fun.
I mean, like, I turn into like a 6-year-old child, and I'm like, it's a pirate ship.
Yeah.
That's how easy the bar is. Really low. Ren, are we like not digging the pirate ship, or like what's happening?
But what I think about the pirate ship is the same way I think about people's uniforms. It's like, wow, they got really cool uniforms. Well, you know why their uniforms are really cool? Because they win. Like, Oregon would not look cool if they went 2-10 every year. They wouldn't.
I don't think Oregon looks cool anyway.
Yeah, they wouldn't look cool. Or you don't think they look cool? Whatever. Like Alabama, those are classics. Well, when Alabama was going 5-7, like they didn't look cool. They look outdated. They look dumb. Like, you got to get up with the times. And that's what I think about the pirate ship. When it first came out, I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. Well, now you're going 5-11 every year. Now it's just a stupid gimmick. It's like, quit throwing beads at me. I don't care. How about you get to 8 wins? That'd be nice. Boom, boom, flash cannons. Okay, great. How about spending some money on some players and coaches instead of some pyrotechnics? Like, if the team is winning, it's cool to have a pirate ship. If it's losing, it's stupid JV and sophomoric. And that's just the way it is for me. Like, it's just a dumb gimmick until you win games.
Keep going, Tom. Make him grab the microphone, please.
Oh my God, that was
amazing. Make him grab the microphone.
Like, I just imagine like Ren sitting in a stadium, lighting a cigarette when he's not supposed to, and flipping off the pirate ship, and he's just like, well, if we converted on that 4th down, then maybe I would be a little bit more happy. Like,
yes, and I'm standing next to him with the beads, trying to catch them out of the air, and the T-shirts that they're launching from the cannon down there, and going, yo ho, a pirate's life for me. That's exactly him and I.
You've got us pegged already, Tom. You've got it all figured out.
I have to say, I've been on a lot of podcasts in my day, and I've had some couples that the dynamic between you two, I love it. I love it so much. This was absolutely phenomenal. I really appreciate both of you coming on. Please tell the people where they can find the pod. Where can they find you on the social medias? Everywhere that you're going to be. Tell them all.
Best place to find me is on Twitter at Rendax, just like you see there on the screen, REN_DAXT. I expect thousands of Packers fans to follow me because all I do is talk Buccaneers football. And what Packers fan doesn't want to just have their timeline flooded with Buccaneer tweets? But
it's been bigger. It's been bigger. We got a lot of fans in here now. Like we got they ain't just Packer fans no more.
But if you ever, I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football. But if you think your tweet's going to be too hot, or you just want to throw it there on the Twitter's verse, feel free to slide in my DMs, and I will talk football or kind of anything else with you there as well too.
I'm at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias personally, but the show is at the Pewtercast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Find us over at YouTube, where we, as Ren mentioned earlier, we go live after every single game, and as we will on this. And really, everybody's welcome. Just don't come and be an a-hole.
Just don't call up and talk about culture.
Yeah, right. But you guys call in, and we've got several shows that go out during the week. But like I said, we're at youtube.com/thepewtercast, the Pewtercast all over the place. And would love to get to talk to you. I've actually got a Packers fan who's going to be going with me to the game this week. This is one of the few I got to go to this week or this year. And he's just a good friend of mine. He's a big Packers fan. So he's coming down from Wisconsin tomorrow, actually, I think.
There you go.
And we're going to hang out for the week. So who knows? But yeah, you guys come check us out over there. And the pewtercast.live is where you can find us out on the web for everything that we do.
Awesome. Thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you coming on. And I well, hopefully we see each other again come postseason.
There you go. We'll do it.
Well, I hope we're there.